This is the Angelology Iceberg. Since my demonology iceberg did surprisingly much better than I thought it ever would, naturally I decided to do a follow-up. Just like with the demonology iceberg, I went ahead and made my own, so I could present it in the way that I felt would be the best. Like with other icebergs, we're going to start with the most well-known, at the top of the iceberg, going down to the most obscure. And like the demonology iceberg, we're going to start with the more biblical interpretations of angels at the top, and as we go further down, we're going to stray further from scripture and more to the esoteric side of angels. So let's go ahead and get started. Tier 1. Biblical Michael. This refers to the strictly biblical version of Michael. There are many different versions or interpretations of Michael that will appear later in this iceberg, but for now, let's look at his canonical appearances. He appears a few times throughout the Bible, mostly as a force against Satan. In one story, he argues with Satan over the body of Moses. His most iconic appearance, however, is in Revelation, where he and his angels are the ones who defeat Satan and his demons once and for all. Biblical Gabriel. This refers to the strictly biblical version of Gabriel. There are also many different versions or interpretations of Gabriel that will appear later in this iceberg. Looking at his canonical appearances, in the Bible, Gabriel is usually the messenger angel. For example, he was the one that would tell Mary that she was pregnant with Jesus. Tier 2. Heavenly Host. This refers to the army of angels mentioned in both the Hebrew and Christian Bibles, as well as other Abrahamic texts. The Bible gives several descriptions of angels in military terms, such as their encampment, command structure, and combat. In the book of Revelation, the heavenly host participate in the war in heaven against Satan, angel hierarchy. This refers to the different classifications of angels in the Bible. These classifications are seraphim. The seraphim are angels that exist directly next to God's throne in heaven. Seraphim being the plural of seraph, or the burning ones. The seraphim appear in the book of Isaiah when the prophet Isaiah envisions God's throne. He described them as a creature with a human head and 6 wings. In the book of Revelation, they are described as having eyes covering each of their wings. Cherubim. The cherubim are first recorded by Ezekiel when he has a vision of a cherubim. He describes the cherubim as a creature with wings, the body of a lion, the feet of an ox, with 4 faces, one like a man, an eagle, an ox, and a lion. They also have wings covered with eyes. Some of the texts in the Bible can be taken to imply that Satan was originally a cherubim. Thrones. The thrones are another type of angel that appeared in the vision Ezekiel had. They were described as burning wheels, spinning within wheels, that were covered with eyes. He also described a living creature at the center of these wheels. Dominions. The dominions are a group of angels that rule over angels that are beneath them. In artistic depictions, they often appear as winged humans with a golden staff in their right hand and the seal of God in their left hand. More on that seal and what that means later in this iceberg. Virtues. The virtues are a group of angels that govern nature and earth. Virtues are the angels mostly accredited with miracles on earth. According to some texts, Raphael leads them. There is also a possibility that the Watcher Angels from the Book of Enoch were a group of these virtues. Powers. The powers are basically a group of angels that make up the army of the heavenly host. Most depictions of them have them as men clad in armor and weapons. It's believed that this group of angels stands as the guardians of the gates of heaven and actively do battle against demons on earth. Principalities. The principalities are the angels that guide and protect nations, groups of people, and institutions, usually the church. They are usually depicted with a crown and scepter, and seen as rulers. Archangels. Archangels are usually a more contentious class of angel. The word archangel is only used twice in the New Testament, both in reference to the angel Michael. In most Christian traditions, Gabriel is also considered to be an archangel, but there is no biblical support for this assumption. In Revelation, it mentions 7 angels gathered around the throne of God. In the apocryphal book of Tobit, Raphael is designated as an archangel, and in the book of Enoch, it names the 7 archangels Raphael, Gabriel, Michael, Uriel, sometimes called Ariel, Jophiel, Azrael, and Shamuel. Tier 3. Angels of Sodom and Gomorrah. This refers to the two angels that God sends to destroy Sodom. These two angels appear in the form of humans and are welcomed by a man named Lot. Lot welcomes them into his home, but all of the men of town surround the house and demand that he surrenders his visitors to them so that they may know them. What does know them mean? Well, Lot decides to offer this angry mob his two virgin daughters to, quote, do with them as you please. This group of angry men refuse and threaten to do a lot worse to Lot himself. In response, these two angels strike the crowd of men blind. The next morning, because Lot had lingered, the angels take Lot, his wife, and two daughters by the hand and lead them out of the city. They tell him to flee to the hills and not to look back. God then rains sulfur and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah. Lot's wife doesn't heed the angels' warning. She looks back at the burning city and is turned into a pile of salt. As to the exact identity of these two angels, that has been left up to speculation. Angel of Death. This refers to the angel who is tasked by God with delivering the final plague onto Egypt. In the Old Testament, the 10th and final plague of Egypt was the plague of death. In the Hebrew version of the Bible, the angel is simply referred to as the Malach Hal-Avet, and he only appears once. However, it's most often referred to as the Malach Hamashlit, or the angel of destruction. The only physical description we ever get of this entity is a vision had by King David, where we're told that the titanic proportions of this angel were so large that he was standing between heaven and earth, and his drawn sword extended over the entirety of Jerusalem. In the Old Testament story, and the final plague of Egypt, the Israelites were warned to smear lamb's blood above their doors, so that the angel of death will pass over their home, as it stalks and kills the Egyptians' firstborn children. The exact name and nature of this angel are up for debate. In Judaism, he's sometimes given the name Samael, whereas in Christianity and Islam, he's usually referred to as Azrael. Death itself as a concept would be further personified in Christianity as the pale rider among the four horsemen of the apocalypse. However, in this context, he wouldn't really remain as an angel. And death, of course, was supposedly defeated by Jesus Christ after his death on the cross. Fallen angels and demons. This refers to the extensive list of angels who are said to have fallen from heaven after going against God. The Bible has debatable references to the fall of Lucifer in some passages in the Old Testament, and Jesus makes a passing remark about seeing the devil fall from heaven in the New Testament. The other time angels supposedly fell was in the apocryphal book of Enoch, when the Watcher angels decided to mate with human women. These fallen angels are attributed to many of the demons of Christianity, which I discussed at length in my Demonology Iceberg, so I won't go into too much depth here. Tier 4. Jacob fights an angel. This refers to the story in Genesis in which Jacob wrestles with an angel all through the night. In the story, this entity is only referred to as man and God. This has led many to believe that this entity is an angel, and is often depicted as an angel. This story culminates ultimately in Jacob being renamed to Israel. Their fight ends after Jacob insists that the angel bless him, and this angel bestows this new name upon him, setting him on his new path. Tetragrammaton and Yahweh. The Tetragrammaton refers to the ineffable name of God. The word Tetragrammaton means the 4 letters. According to many texts, the name is too holy to pronounce, or contains an obscene amount of power behind it. The name is usually rendered Yod-He, Vah-He, Yahweh, or Yahweh. It is the one of the 2 names used for God in the Bible, the other being Elohim, a plural word simply translating to I am. The Tetragrammaton is used in Solomonic magic to bind demons, traditionally appearing as a pentagram, in which Hebrew letters are used. But as Solomonic magic became more Christianized in the Middle Ages, it was written just simply as Tetragrammaton. Metatron and sacred geometry. This refers to the rabbit hole that is sacred geometry. To briefly explain, sacred geometry gives symbolic and sacred meanings to certain geometric shapes, and to certain geometric proportions. Basically, the explanation for why geometric patterns appear in nature is that God crafted the entire universe with a particular geometric plan. As this pertains to the angel Metatron, well, According to the Book of Enoch, after God took Enoch into heaven after the whole Watchers incident, he transforms Enoch into the angel Metatron. As for the name Metatron, the origin is completely unknown. It doesn't have any clear Semitic or Latin root, and unlike other angel names, it doesn't end in L. So Metatron is kind of a mystery. In many texts, Metatron is described as the lesser or little god or little Yahweh. As such, it's interpreted that Metatron is the second in command after God. And in some sects of Judaism and early Christianity, there exists evidence of Metatron worshippers. Suffice to say, this Metatron worship, or the concept of a second Yahweh, was extremely uncomfortable to rabbinical Jews. In one story from the Babylonian Talmud, Metatron is mistaken by a rabbi as a second god, and is beaten by Gabriel for allowing someone to make that mistake. Interestingly enough, though, this rabbinical story is part of the two powers in heaven heresy controversy that was going down right around the same time as Christianity was getting started, but that's another rabbit hole. Regardless, Metatron originally being a human, the fact that Metatron was originally thought of being as a human who ascended to the divine was seen as a mediator between man and God. This is what led to its association with geometric shapes like the Metatron cube. This shape is made of 13 circles interconnected by straight lines. This creates 5 platonic solids, which represent the classic elements: air, water, fire, earth, and then a final one, spirit or ether. This symbol, Metatron's cube, represents one of the many ways that you can connect with the divine. Metatron himself will appear again later in this iceberg. Tier 5. The suffix L. This refers to the fact that a lot of angels' names end in L, and the origins of some of these angels. This is a complex topic that has a lot of deep and intricate history to it, far outside of the scope of a single entry on an iceberg video. I'd honestly recommend the video Who is Yahweh by Esoterica. In that video, Dr. Justin Sledge gives a very good in-depth explanation as to the concepts of the assimilation of early Israelites with the Canaanite peoples, much better than I could here. But here, I'll go ahead and give you my overly simplified explanation. The Semitic root for El means God, or in the case of angels, of God. This suffix might be associated with the Canaanite god El, or possibly arose from Ugaritic or Phoenician linguistics. Some theories suggest that as the early worshippers of Yahweh assimilated or combined aspects of the religions together, traits of Yahweh and El were combined as these cultures integrated. In the Canaanite and Ugaritic pantheons, terms for God like Baal or Baal and El, respectively, were usually used as a prefix or a suffix, like Baal Hadad, or God of Thunder, or Raphael, God of Healing. If the second name sounds familiar, that's because this god is thought to be the origin of the angel of the same name. This theory posits that as these groups integrated, the various celestial gods of the Canaanite pantheon as well as other pantheons were either demonized in the case of Baal and the female goddess Astarte, or were demoted from gods to angels, like in the case of Raphael. However, this is one of many theories that could explain the origins of the names of both God and the angels. Correspondences. This refers to the concept that many of the religious stories and deities share similar traits. The idea that all of these ancient religions have a flood story has recently been pointed out by shows like Ancient Apocalypse. The stories aren't exactly a one-to-one match, but they all tell the same general idea. A long time ago, a flood wipes out an ancient civilization and restarts humanity. The similarities with these religions and mythologies doesn't stop there. Up until recent interest in this ancient flood story, the most well-known correspondence is the idea of Hermes Trismegistus. The idea came from the similarities of the Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth. At the time, Greeks in the Ptolemaic kingdom of Egypt recognized the similarities of Hermes and Thoth through what is now known as the Interpretatio Graeca, which was a movement by the Greeks to interpret or attempt to understand the mythology and religion of other cultures. Rather than harp on the differences, they preferred to celebrate the similarities. In the case of Hermes and Thoth, they were both gods of wisdom, knowledge, writing, science, and magic. Hermes Trismegistus was also believed to be based on a real human being, and people based magical, sometimes called hermetic orders, after him. But that's a topic for another video. As this pertains to angels, the correspondence theory is a theory that posits that the early Jews already had the concept of angels when they integrated in the land of Canaan. This version of pre-biblical Judaism simply recognized the gods of the Canaanites were in fact the same entities as the angels, or lesser divine beings as they were probably known as at the time, of their religion, and simply adopted the names as the groups assimilated, and that the Baals and Astaroths were genuinely demonic forces masquerading as false gods. Angel magic. This is definitely a contentious subject, and also very complicated. To put into perspective how complicated this topic is, Jewish Kabbalah, which forms the basis of angel magic as we know today, Dr. Justin Sledge has a playlist of videos on Jewish Kabbalah. If you want to get a good grasp on it, you can watch the playlist yourself, but I would want to caution you, it's just under 16 hours long, so I'm going to try my best to explain it. The idea is that magic and Judaism, and by extension Christianity and Islam, have a long, if not antagonistic history with each other, even if neither occultists nor religious orthodoxy wants to admit it. So, a quick history. The Hebrew Bible, or the Old Testament, gives about half a dozen instances of prohibition around magical practices. For example, in Exodus, a line translated as, "Do not let a sorceress live," or, as it's more commonly quoted from the King James translation, "Suffer not a witch to live." You only ban something if it's being done, so we can conclude that magic was commonly practiced in the ancient Israelite culture. As I mentioned earlier in the iceberg, it was believed that the name of God, Yahweh, was itself some kind of supernatural word of power. And as Jewish tradition went from oral to written, great care was taken to make sure that texts containing this name were preserved. Texts bearing this divine name, for example, were not allowed to be burned, and had to be buried with ritual honor. One of these texts, the Sefer HaRazim, is one of the oldest surviving mystic texts, only surviving because of this practice of not burning books. The text has descriptions of 7 heavens, angelic military formations, and also magical spells corresponding to these various heavens and angels. This knowledge was allegedly given to Moses by the angel Raziel. More on him later in the iceberg. However, this didn't just strictly apply to the Israelites. The Greek magical papyri contains a number of magical spells, formula, hymns, and rituals, which invoke not only the god Yahweh and the angels, but also Greek and Egyptian gods. These materials in the papyri date to the hundreds BC all the way up to 400 AD. This relationship between religion and magic goes back even further, with some of the oldest surviving texts of the Hebrew Bible coming from ancient burial amulets. The simple truth is that the ancient Israelites, like every other culture of the time, had a complex and technical system for describing the things that we would now call magic, and most of these terms and practices have simply been lost to history. To overly simplify, the idea basically sprung up that the average person heard the stories of prophets having divine intervention, for example, Moses in the burning bush, or Ezekiel's vision of angels. This raises the question, could these encounters with divinity be replicated, and possibly used for everyday life? These early Jewish mystics likely took the various pagan rituals from other groups that they had encountered, and substituted the pagan gods' roles in those rituals with angels or the Hebrew god in their place. And by using a process of trial and error, they apparently got some form of results. Writings on these more ancient versions of these rituals is hard to come by. However, it is possible that some of the magic referenced in the Old Testament could have come from some of these practices, the Witch of Endor being a potential example. This history gets more complex as Christianity comes about. When Christianity first started, it was openly mocked by the Romans. One of the issues was that Christianity, at the time, was a new religion. The Romans, while not being the biggest fans of Judaism, at least respected that it was very old, and that it also had a similar system of worship. There were various issues the Romans had with Christianity as a concept. The idea of a religion without sacrifice, and a human being who had been executed in the most brutal and demeaning way being God among them. The reason I bring this up is that being a Christian during the first few centuries of Christianity, up until the conversion of Constantine and the legalization of Christianity in 1313 AD, was not easy. The one saving grace that early Christians had was that the average Roman citizen of the time believed that magic was not only real, but extremely common. Some of the earliest criticism of Jesus was that he was simply a magician. In fact, many early Christians were thought to have magical or miraculous powers. Of course, in both Roman and Jewish eyes at the time, Jesus and his followers didn't have these powers because Jesus was the Son of God, and therefore Christianity being a legitimate religion, but rather, they were just simply your stock standard magicians. This extremely early debate around Christianity wasn't whether Jesus and his followers had powers. The question was where those powers came from. And in many people's eyes, they originated in either magic or in some cases demonic power. In fact, this criticism actually appears in the New Testament while Jesus was still alive. In Luke 11:14 through 28, Jesus is exorcising demons. When the Pharisees see this, they say he's driving out demons in the name of Beelzebub. Jesus then proceeds to tell them off. This, at the time, was a well-known criticism of Christianity. Rather than trying to necessarily distance themselves from magicians, early Christian apologetics used this as a means of legitimizing the religion. Early Christian apologetics, like Lactantius, would claim that ancient pagan philosophers actually foretold the coming of Jesus. In fact, one of the ancient pagan philosophers, or maguses, that Lactantius claimed foretold the coming of Christianity and Jesus was in fact Hermes Trismegistus. Lactantius himself was an advisor to Constantine and likely played a pivotal role in Constantine's eventual conversion to Christianity, which in turn led to the legalization of Christianity and the eventual adoption of Christianity by the Romans. During this period, Jesus would often be portrayed with a wand or staff. At the time, various pagan religious leaders were portrayed with wands, like in Egypt, the ancient East, and Rome. These wands were used in ritual context with offerings of magical protection, healing, etc. At the time, Jesus was shown performing his biblical miracles with the wand, so that the average person who would see these could easily make the connection between him and a standard religious leader of the time. This was likely done as a means of transitioning the population with iconography they would already be familiar with. At the time, loose interpretations of Christianity were still allowed. The most prominent of these interpretations was Gnosticism, but that's a whole other rabbit hole. So, to summarize, it was through a combination of Jewish mysticism and a loose interpretation of the New Testament and Jesus' teachings during the early years of Christianity that we get the concept of white and black magic. White magic being where people call on the power of God and angels, and black magic being for those who call on the power of Satan and demons. Tier 6. So a quick disclaimer, the angels that will appear throughout the rest of this iceberg video, the visuals I used are created using a sketch I made being processed through the AI generator Stable Diffusion. I did this for a variety of reasons, mostly to differentiate them from the traditional biblical angels, archangels of the elements, seasons, and directions. This refers to the 4 archangels from the Book of Enoch as the 4 of the 7 archangels who God sends to deal with the Watcher angels. These 4 angels were used by the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn as part of what is known as the Lesser Banishing and Invoking rituals of the Pentagram. These archangels are connected to the 4 classical elements, earth, air, water, and fire, along with the 4 seasons and also the 4 directions of the compass. The first of these angels of the elements is Raphael. As I mentioned in the iceberg earlier, Raphael means healing of God, and he is the archangel of air. Raphael is usually depicted wearing yellow robes and holding a staff with the 2 entwined snakes on it, the one that's usually associated with medical staff, or doctors. Reasons why people would invoke Raphael is to better articulate your ideas to others, for safe passage, for healing of any sort, as well as assistance for meditation and mental clarity. The next of these elemental angels is Gabriel, or Gabriel, and is the angel of water and the west. Gabriel is usually depicted wearing blue robes and holding a chalice, and is associated with the season of autumn. Some of the reasons you would want to call on Gabriel: to overcome anger or melancholy, to heal any form of emotional wound, or for anything related to true love. The next elemental angel is Uriel, sometimes referred to as Ariel, is associated with the direction north as well as the element of earth. Uriel is usually depicted wearing green robes and holding a pentacle, which is a 5-pointed star. Uriel is also associated with the season of winter. The reason someone would call on Uriel is to assist in things like divination or anything involving finances, material goods, and wealth. And the last of the elemental angels is Michael, or Mikael. Michael is usually associated with the direction of south as well as the season of summer. He's usually depicted wearing red robes. Some reasons people would invoke Michael is to lose weight or get into shape, for ferocity in any competition, and most commonly, for any form of protection. Angels of the Tree of Life. This refers to the angels who preside on the spheres of the Tree of Life. The Tree of Life takes a large part in Christian and Jewish Kabbalah. This tree is basically a ladder that represents a map of reality or the soul. This map also corresponds to the classic Earth-centric model of the solar system and is often used as a metaphor, and in some cases, literally as the angels of those celestial objects. Starting with the bottom of the Tree of Life and corresponding with Earth, or Malkuth, we have the angel Sandalphon. Sandalphon is traditionally thought of being Metatron's twin, the two of them working together as a team, Metatron sending the flow of divine energy from the top of the universe, or Kether, into Malkuth, or the Earth. And then Sandalphon directs that flow into all of the different aspects of the material world, making certain that each aspect doesn't receive too much or too little. In some texts, it's believed that the prophet Elijah was transformed into Sandalphon by God after ascending into heaven. Sandalphon is usually depicted in pale brown robes and holding a cornucopia. Reasons people might invoke Sandalphon, specifically, is to manifest anything in the material world, or to bless any of your magic, that it manifests in a way that harms no one. Moving up from the Tree of Life, from Malkuth, we go to Yesod. The angel on this sphere is Gabriel, or Gabriel. This is different from the elemental version of Gabriel, and is usually depicted wearing purple robes, or any kind of jewelry with a crescent moon on it. That's because this sphere also corresponds with the moon. Reasons people might invoke Gabriel: to increase the presence of love in your life, to bring peace, artistic inspiration, finding answers in your dreams, to strengthen your magic overall, obtaining any secret information, gaining insight to the workings of the astral realm, and emotional strength in times of crisis. The next sphere is the sphere of Hod, the realm of intellect, logic, and reasoning. The angel that oversees this sphere is Michael, or Mikael. Again, not to be confused with the elemental Michael. This version of Michael is seen wearing orange robes and also holds a staff with 2 entwined snakes. Because Hod corresponds with the planet Mercury, Hod is also meant to correspond with the gods of magic, like Thoth and Hermes. Because of this, the reasons people invoke Michael are for things like intelligent decisions, protections when performing magic, as well as any new ideas, particularly business ideas, financial ideas, or any ideas that might assist you in your path in life. The next sphere on the Tree of Life is Netzach. This level of reality is supposedly the one in which our emotional life plays out, or the sphere of art, beauty, sensuality, and luxury. As such, this sphere corresponds with the planet Venus. The angel who oversees this sphere is known as Haniel. Haniel is usually depicted wearing seafoam green robes, and those who invoke Haniel say that they are accompanied by the scent of a rose. Reasons people might invoke Haniel is to bring peace to arguing lovers, encourage fidelity, and enhance passion, to turn rivals and enemies into allies and friends, to gain new friends, to reunite lost loved ones, assistance in creating any form of art, help in experiencing joy or overcoming depression, to create an environment in your home that is pleasing to all of the senses, to aid in any gardening or nature-related activities, and to help develop a mutually beneficial relationship with the Fae. The Fae is a topic worthy of its own video, so I'm going to move on. Moving on from Netzach, we ascend to the heart of the tree of life, Tippereth. Tippereth is a golden sphere that shines like the sun. The reason for this is that Tippereth corresponds with the sun. Remember, this is based off of the Earth-centric model of the universe. Tippereth represents the highest, most evolved state of consciousness that people are capable of achieving. In a lot of Christian mystic traditions, is known as Christ consciousness. The angel who precedes over the sphere is Raphael, not to be confused with the elemental Raphael. This version of Raphael is usually depicted wearing golden robes and holding a scepter. The reasons people might invoke Raphael are to repair rifts between yourself and others, to complete projects, to attain fame or popularity through a talent, to win any sort of legal dispute or battle, for stability of your life in any sort, to pacify aggressive situations and gain victory over enemies, to improve physical vitality and stamina, and to overcome any form of sorrow. Moving up the tree of life, we get to the sphere of Geburah. Geburah is the sphere of strength and severity, and is associated with the color of deep red. The reason for this is that it is associated with the planet Mars on the celestial map. The angel who oversees this sphere is Kamael. His name roughly translates to Strength of God. He's depicted wearing red robes, sometimes wearing armor and a helmet, holding a spear and a shield. The reasons people might call on Kamael is to repel negative energy, defeat enemies, and defend against bullies, for bravery in the face of adversity, to shield people against aggressive people and situations, to project an aura of power in any situation, to express anger in a healthy way, repel thieves and protect your home, for assistance in any type of competition, as well as protection against negative or depressing thoughts. The next sphere we have is Chesed. The next sphere on the Tree of Life is Chesed. This is the sphere of abundance and prosperity, joy and adventure, and it corresponds with the planet Jupiter. The angel who presides over this sphere is known as Zadkiel. Zadkiel is usually depicted wearing blue robes and holding a scepter like a king. Reasons you might want to call on Zadkiel are for any form of prosperity and abundance, attaining inner harmony and joy, luck in gambling, enhancing your popularity and esteem with others, the power to help others, increase any talent or skill, better understanding what your will is and your purpose in life, obtaining more ambition, and to make certain that others keep their promises to you. Moving up the Tree of Life, we go to Binah. Binah is associated with the planet of Saturn and is the last of the planets in the traditional celestial map. The angel who presides over this sphere is known as Zafkiel. Zafkiel is usually depicted with black robes holding an hourglass. Some of the reasons people might call on Zafkiel include binding enemies in order to prevent them from doing harm, destroying the plans and schemes of your enemies, to repel curses or forms of negative energy, to bring justice upon those who have done wrong, banish sickness and anxiety, to project an aura of authority and gain the respect of others, as well as a restful night's sleep. Moving up the tree, we go from Binah to Chokmah. The angel who presides over Chokmah is the angel Raziel, or the angel of knowledge, who apparently gave Moses the knowledge of these angels long ago. Raziel is usually depicted wearing gray robes, and he holds an extremely large book in which he apparently holds all universal knowledge. And that book will only be closed once the last sentient being enters the realm of heaven. Some of the reasons people might call on Raziel include setting up plans in motion and to speed up the process of plans already in place, to gain energy after you have been drained, to break free of any situation that feels like a rut, to obtain wisdom and deeper insight about any subject, to discover forgotten or unrecorded magical techniques, and to strengthen any divination technique. And moving up to the top sphere of the Tree of Life, we reach Kether, or Keter in some cases. This sphere represents complete and utter union with the divine source of creation, God himself. The angel who presides over this sphere is Metatron. According to the Book of Enoch, Metatron was the prophet Enoch, taken into heaven by God and transformed into an angel, and is in many cases considered the lesser god or the lesser Yahweh. Metatron is usually thought of as wearing robes of crystal clear light, sitting on a throne made of a brilliant light. Some reasons people might invoke Metatron include aligning your individual will with the will of God, to see through the illusions of the material world, and to raise the vibrational rate of your soul in order to display more aspects of divinity in your life. Basically, anything revolving the secrets of the divine. Tier 7. Angels of the Zodiac. The Angels of the Zodiac refers to the 12 angels who preside over the 12 constellations of the zodiac. As I mentioned before, old Western religious traditions heavily relied on the celestial objects. Starting with the first sign of the zodiac, Aries, which lasts from March 21st through April 19th. The angel who presides over the sign is known as Melchiadel, and is said to be one of the fiercest warriors in God's celestial army. He's usually depicted wearing red robes and holding a spear, and sometimes wearing a Spartan-like helmet. Reasons you might want to invoke him include to overcome fear, for strength and determination during trying times, to deal with any kind of strife, personal, work-related, spiritual, etc., as well as assistance for any type of hunting-related activity, hunting for animals, or hunting for bargains or special deals. The second sign of the zodiac is Taurus, which runs from April 20th through May 20th. The angel who oversees this sign is known as Asmodel. Asmodel is usually depicted wearing an orange-reddish robes and holding a Capricorn. Reasons you might want to call on Asmodel include gardening or growing plants of any sort, to obtain money that is owed to you, or to aid in any plan that involves wealth long-term, bringing a long-term career, fostering patience, persistence, and consistency with any endeavor. The third sign of the zodiac is Gemini, which begins on May 21st and ends on June 20th. The angel who presides over this sign is known as Umbriel, or the Great Communicator. Umbriel is usually depicted wearing orange robes, sometimes having the symbol of Gemini in a darker orange upon those robes. Reasons you might want to call on Umbriel include studying for exams of any sort, protecting any of your technology, writing anything from books to post on the internet, and to promote your work or gain publicity for any endeavor. Next is the sign of Cancer, which runs from June 21st to July 22nd. Cancer is one of the 3 signs of water of the zodiac, and it specifically pertains to home and emotional life. The angel that presides over this sign is Muriel. Muriel is concerned with making our living environment as stable and comfortable as possible. Muriel is usually depicted wearing dark amber robes, and is associated with the scent of jasmine or chamomile. Reasons you might want to call on Muriel is to help secure a new home, to heal from heartache and gain emotional comfort, watch over and protect family members, increase intuition, improve the chances of getting pregnant, banish and defend against people who are emotionally abusive, and anything needed in the home, especially anything that promotes an atmosphere of comfort. The next sign is Leo. It begins on July 23rd and ends on August 22nd, and is one of the 3 fire signs. The angel who presides over this sign is known as Virchiel. Virchiel is usually depicted as wearing gold or yellow robes, and is associated with various scents like frankincense, cinnamon, orange, and lemon. Reasons you might want to call on Virchiel are to stay optimistic in dark times, to send assistance to anyone, for help accomplishing any substantial task, and for general assistance to help make anything go just a little more smoothly. Next is the sign of Virgo, which lasts from August 23rd until September 22nd. The angel of Virgo is Hamaliel. Hamaliel is usually affiliated with surgeons and doctors. Hamaliel is usually depicted wearing yellow-green robes, and is associated with the scents of lavender, lemon, balm, and cypress. Reasons you might want to call on Hamaliel include assistance with anything related to medical procedures, surgeries, doctors, etc., whether you be a doctor yourself or the patient. to receive fair treatment in any situation where you feel as if you're being taken advantage of, help understanding complex magical practices, as well as help in working toward any goal, but especially those that involve prosperity. The next sign of the zodiac is Libra, which lasts from September 23rd to October 22nd. The angel who oversees the sign of Libra is Zoriel. Zoriel is known as the angel who brings order to chaos. Zoriel is usually depicted wearing emerald green robes and holding a scale. Reasons you might want to call on Zoriel include to discover hidden enemies, help ridding your home or office of any kind of trash or clutter, to help in any situation in which you feel that others are being discriminated against, and for help reaching mutually beneficial agreement with someone. The next sign of the zodiac is Scorpio, which begins on October 23rd and ends on November 21st. The angel who oversees this sign is Barchiel. Barchiel is said to preside over all mystical objects. Barchiel is said to preside over all mystical subjects and things related to the occult. Barchiel is usually depicted wearing blue-green robes, sometimes with the sign of Scorpio appearing on a darker green. Some of the reasons you might want to call on Barchiel include help interpreting dreams, mastering any form of divination, discovering the truth about any situation, as well as to defend yourself against anyone who would attack you for your beliefs. The next sign of the zodiac is Sagittarius, which lasts from November 22nd to December 21st. This is the sign of poets, philosophers, writers, teachers, and priests. The angel who oversees this sign is Adonachel. Adonachel is usually depicted wearing blue robes, sometimes holding a bow. Some of the reasons to call on Adonachel is to ask for aid in accomplishing any substantial task, assistance in traveling and experiencing new places, to increase enjoyment and excitement in your life, for prosperity and wealth, to overcome any restrictions keeping you from achieving your goals, and to achieve fame for your talents and abilities. The next sign of the zodiac is Capricorn. It lasts from December 22nd to January 19th. The angel who oversees this sign is known as Hanael. Hanael is said to have the feel of a very grounded, traditionally oriented businessman. Hanael is usually depicted wearing indigo robes, sometimes marked with the sign of Capricorn. Some reasons to call on Hanael include any business transaction or accounting matter in any way, such as protecting your business, making sure you receive fair deals in your business, and to influence business owners in any way. The next sign of the zodiac is Aquarius, lasting from January 20th to February 18th. It is said to embody the energy of communication through which we build and maintain connection with others. The angel who oversees this sign is Combriel. Combriel is usually depicted wearing violet robes, sometimes with the sign of Aquarius on them, and is associated with the scents of grapefruit or vanilla. Reasons you might want to call Combriel include assistance in joining in any group or club, creating harmony between people or within your own life, getting word out about a project you want to launch, finding friends with common interests, and help with the duties of leadership. And the final sign of the zodiac, Pisces, occurs between February 19th and March 20th. The angel who oversees this sign is known as Omnitiel. Omnitiel is usually depicted wearing crimson robes, highlighted by the fish sign in gold. Some reasons you might want to call on Omnitiel include assistance when using any type of energy healing, help when adapting to new situations, strengthening any magic you might be performing, for blending into the background and remaining unnoticed, and for general assistance of any kind. Deacons of the Zodiac. I talked about the concept of the deacons in the demonology iceberg, so I won't go too in depth here. But a quick version is that the deacons are associated with the 12 signs of the zodiac, 3 deacons for each sign. The deacons are of course different to the demonic deacons from the Testament of Solomon. And finally, we have Tier 8, Shem HaMephorash. The Shem HaMephorash, or the Shem operation, refers to expansion of the Tetragrammaton from 4 to 72 names of God. This is going to get a bit complicated, so I'll try my best to explain it as I can. The 72 name of God is found by arranging the verses from Exodus. In the original Hebrew of the text, if you read the first verse written as a line written from left to right, with the second row of letters being read from right to left, and then back to left to right. This gives you 72 columns of 3 letters. For example, the first name has the Hebrew letters Vahe and Va. Adding the L at the end, you get the name Vehuel. So add L, or in some cases Yah, depending on your preference, to the end of each of these letters, and you get an angel name. To explain how in the world people came up with this idea is a topic far too in-depth for a single iceberg video. According to early Jewish mystics, this 72-fold name was used by Moses to cross the Red Sea, and that it would grant later holy men the power to cast out demons, heal the sick, prevent natural disasters, and even kill enemies. The best example of this is it is said that the Shem HaMepharash is used to bring a golem to life by invoking the 72 names over it. At some point in the late 1500s and into the early 1600s, occultist Thomas Rudd made the connection between the 72 angels and the 72 demons of the Ars Goetia. He also made a connection that the Hebrew for certain psalms had the same names encoded in the text. Each of the psalms contains the 3-letter Hebrew name. However, there are multiple psalms associated with each angel. This depends on which name of God you use as the cipher. Most of the time, people use Yahweh or Yahweh. However, God has multiple names in the Bible, like Elohim. Using these different names to decipher gives you different psalms that you can use as a result. These angels, like the demons of the Goetia, are also associated with the signs and deacons of the zodiac, each zodiac sign getting 6 angels. So, each of the 72 angels have a demon that they bind, a zodiac sign, and multiple psalms associated with them. Unlike their demonic counterparts in the Ars Goetia, don't have many artistic depictions of them, and are usually associated simply with the color of their associated sign of the zodiac. So, for this section of the video, I'm just going to go ahead and reuse the visuals I used for the angels of the zodiac. Starting off, we have the angels under the sign of Aries, starting with Vehuel, who constrains the demon Baal and can be summoned with Psalms 3:3. You would call on Vehuel for assistance in developing wisdom, especially wisdom pertaining to the arts and sciences, for help engaging and completing in any difficult task. Liel binds the demon Agares and can be summoned with Psalms 22:19. You can call on them to defend against unjust attacks by those who are jealous or malicious. Sitael binds the demon Visago and can be summoned with Psalms 91:2. You would call on them to protect against wild animals, for help with any kind of adversity, and to encourage people to keep their word. Elamel binds the demon Gamigin and can be summoned with Psalms 6:4. You would call on them to rid your mind of any thoughts that trouble you, and to make travels and voyages flow more smoothly. Mahashel, who binds the demon Marbas, and can be summoned with Psalms 34:4. You would call on this angel to help bring peace to any relationship, for assistance in learning new subjects, and to quickly understand them. Lelalel binds the demon Veilfar, and can be summoned with Psalms 9:11. You would call on this angel to increase ambition or to help you achieve any of your ambitions, assistance in gaining fame and fortune within your chosen field. The next 6 angels are associated with the sign of Taurus. Akchael binds the demon Ammon and can be summoned with Psalms 103:8. You would call on this angel for patience, to learn any secrets pertaining to nature, and for perseverance while undertaking any difficult tasks. Kahatel binds the demon Barbados and can be summoned with Psalms 95:6. You would call on this angel to dispel negative energy directed at you from other people, and to drive away any non-human evil entities that seek to cause you harm. Heziel binds the demon Paimon and can be summoned with Psalms 25:6. You would call on this angel to gain the favor of those in positions of power and authority, and to ensure that promises made to you are kept. Eladel binds the demon Buer, and can be summoned with Psalms 33:22. You would call on this angel to assist you in finding secret things, and to help deal with diseases. Lavel binds the demon Guson, and can be summoned with Psalms 18:46. You would call on this angel for the power to overcome your enemies, to develop fame and renown for a particular talent of yours. Hahael binds the demon Sitri, and can be summoned with Psalms 110:1. This angel can be called to gain answers to questions through dreams, and for turning enemies into friends. The next set of angels are associated with the sign of Gemini. Yazelel binds the demon Beleth, and can be summoned with Psalms 98:4. You would call on this angel to repair damaged friendships or reunite quarreling lovers, as well as to inspire writers. Mebael binds the demon Lorahe, and can be summoned with Psalms 9:9. You would call on this angel for protection of prisoners, and to deliver justice and free the oppressed. Hariel binds the demon Eligos, and can be summoned with Psalms 94:22. You would call on this angel to bring peace to any situation. Hakamel binds the demon Zippar, and can be summoned with Psalms 88:1. You would call on this angel to prevent betrayal and thwart oppressors, and to ensure that you are treated with dignity. Laavel binds the demon Bodis, and can be summoned with Psalms 8:9. You would call on this angel to help you or others deal with despair, depression, and sorrow, as well as to create music that is emotionally moving. Keliel binds the demon Bathan, and can be summoned with Psalms 35:24. You would call on this angel to make you less visible, especially to anyone intending to do you harm, and to help prove innocence in the courts of law. The next set of angels is associated with the zodiac sign of Cancer. Lavael binds the demon Salios, and can be summoned with Psalms 41. You would call on this angel to inspire love in both friends and enemies, and for assistance in making good decisions. Pahael binds the demon Person, and can be summoned with Psalms 120:1-2. You would call on this angel to help find joy in life, and to help find the best spiritual path for anyone looking for it, as well as to assist in the study of religion and theology. Nelachel binds the demon Morax, and can be summoned with Psalms 31:14. You would call on this angel to protect your name against slander, and to protect your property against thieves. Yeael binds the demon Ipos, and can be summoned with Psalms 121:5. You would call on this angel to bring renown or fame for your talents and skills, and to get your work known by the general public. Melael binds the demon Aim, and can be summoned with Psalms 121:8. You would call on this angel for protection against any type of physical weapon. Cha'aoel binds the demon Nibirius, and can be summoned with Psalms 33:18. You would call on this angel to repel insects, rodents, and other vermin from your home, and to help in the study of magic. The next set of angels correspond to the zodiac sign of Leo. Netael binds the demon Glaciolabilus, and can be summoned with Psalms 9:1. You would call on this angel to discover secrets or other forms of hidden information, usually revealed during dreams, as well as the revelation of any new magical practices or techniques. Ha'ael binds the demon Boon, and can be summoned with Psalms 119:145. You would call on this angel for victory in lawsuits and legal matters, as well as to influence politicians, diplomats, and bureaucrats. Yeratel binds the demon Renove, and can be summoned with Psalms 140:1. You would call on this angel to help you escape from enemies, spread knowledge through writing, and to gain fame and recognition to things hidden. Sha'al binds the demon Berith and can be summoned with Psalm 71:12. You would call on this angel to protect your health and defend against illnesses, as well as to gain the required strength and inner peace to make it through any natural disaster. Re'el binds the demon Astaroth and can be summoned with Psalms 54:4. You would call on this angel to defend against your enemies, especially those who are unseen or unknown, as well as to discover the plots and plans of your enemies. Amael binds the demon Fornius and can be summoned with Psalms 71:5. You would call on this angel to help deal with any sorrow, to gain patience in difficult times, as well as help in letting go of past failures and moving on. The next set of angels are associated with the zodiac sign Virgo. Lekagvel binds the demon Foras and can be summoned with Psalms 71:16. You would call on this angel to help you retain whatever you study, as well as assistance in passing through crowds unseen. Vesheruel binds the demon Asmodeus and can be summoned with Psalms 33:4. This angel would be called on to defend against any untrue accusations, especially within the legal system. Yichuel binds the demon Gap and can be summoned with Psalms 94:11. You would call on this angel to discover those who might have betrayed you, or to thwart the plans of those who are attempting to do so, as well as to aid in manifesting any desires you have in the material realm. Lahachuel binds the demon Furfur and can be summoned with Psalms 131:3. You would call on this angel to curb anger, both your own as well as that of others, and to help bring calm to any situation, and to stop the potential ending of any relationship. Kevekel binds the demon Marcosias and can be summoned with Psalms 116:1. You would call on this angel to regain the friendship or goodwill of someone you've offended, as well as to ensure that something is shared equally. Menadel binds the demon Stolas and can be summoned with Psalms 26:8. You would call on this angel to help maintain a job, as well as to protect prisoners. The next set of angels are associated with the Libra sign of the zodiac. Aniel binds the demon Phoenix and can be summoned with Psalms 83. You would call on this angel to communicate with others effectively and to resolve disputes without resorting to physical confrontation. Ja'amel binds the demon Halfas and can be summoned with Psalms 91:9. You would call on this angel to acquire prosperity, as well as to preserve your physical health. Rehael binds the demon Malphas and can be summoned with Psalms 30:10. You would call on this angel for longevity and to heal any form of illness. Yehizel binds the demon Ram and can be summoned with Psalms 88:14. You would call on this angel for freedom from any imprisonment, as well as to increase your psychic intuition and for assistance in getting your works published. Hahahuel binds the demon Focalor and can be summoned with Psalms 120:2. You would call on this angel to stop the plans of your enemies, as well as to prevent slander against your name. Mikel binds the demon Vipar and can be summoned with Psalms 121:7. You would call on this angel to uncover conspiracies, influence those with political power, as well as to provide yourself safe passage. The next set of angels are associated with the sign of the zodiac, Scorpio. Vevael binds the demon Sabnok and can be summoned with Psalms 88:13. You would call on this angel to bind or destroy the plans of your enemies, as well as assistance when dealing with any kind of cruel superior or boss. Yalauel binds the demon Shax and can be summoned with Psalms 119:108. You would call on this angel to assist in manifesting any desire, and to ensure its success when invoked at the beginning of any new endeavor. Sheol binds the demon, Vinye, and can be summoned with Psalms 94:18. You would call on this angel to repel curses and any other forms of negativity directed towards you, as well as to help and comfort those who have been humiliated. Ariel binds the demon, Bifrons, and can be summoned with Psalms 145:9. You would call on this angel to clarify or bring into focus what you truly desire during times of confusion. Eshael binds the demon, Vual, and can be summoned with Psalms 92:5. You would call on this angel to make truth known in any situation, to create love, and to receive omens about the future. Mihael binds the demon, Hagenti, and can be summoned with Psalms 98:2. You would call on this angel to make the truth known in any situation, to create love, as well as to receive omens about the future. The next set of angels are associated with the sign of the zodiac, Sagittarius. Vehuah binds the demon, Crocel, and can be summoned with Psalms 145:3. You would call on this angel to humble or dominate any situation that involves strong personalities, and to rise above any aggression. Daniel binds the demon, Phyrkos, and can be summoned with Psalms 145:8. You would call on this angel for aid in any legal situation. Hachashoel binds the demon, Balaam, and can be summoned with Psalms 104:31. You would call on this angel to learn the true secrets which elevate the soul. Amamel binds the demon, Alosis, and can be summoned with Psalms 7:17. You would call on this angel for patience and strength while undergoing adversities, as well as to weaken the power of those who would seek to victimize you. Nenael binds the demon, Came, and can be summoned with Psalms 119:75. You would call on this angel to help master a skill, or to help teach that skill to another person. Nitael binds the demon, Murmur, and can be summoned with Psalms 103:19. You would call on this angel to gain recognition for your art, especially writing of any kind, as well as to live a long life. These next angels are associated with the sign of Capricorn. Mivael binds the demon, Orobas, and can be summoned with Psalms 102:12. You would call on this angel to help you as a magician win awards and acclaim in your particular field of interest, or to help someone else do the same thing, as well as to obtain rightful compensation that is owed to you. Pa'iel binds the demon, Gremory, and can be summoned with Psalms 145:14. You would call on this angel to obtain any of your earthly desires. Nememel binds the demon, Ose, and can be summoned with Psalms 115:11. You would call on this angel for general prosperity, as well as to help you with fatigue. Yehilael binds the demon, Aeons, and can be summoned with Psalms 6:3. You would call on this angel to ease the pain of sorrow and to help your heart heal quickly, as well as to influence those within the realm of finance. Harachel binds the demon, Orias, and can be summoned with Psalms 113:3. You would call on this angel for help in having a child or matters concerning fertility, as well as assistance in business dealings. Metzarel binds the demon, Vapula, and can be summoned with Psalms 145:17. You would call on this angel for protection against those who would persecute or bully you. These next set of angels are associated with the sign of the zodiac, Aquarius. Umababel binds the demon, Zagan, and can be summoned with Psalms 113:2. You would call on this angel to obtain friendship, or to turn a romantic relationship into a friendship, where you don't share that other person's feelings. Ya'el binds the demon, Valak, and can be summoned with Psalms 119:159. You would call on this angel to acquire wisdom, for assistance in understanding philosophy, as well as to pass unnoticed through the streets. Anuel binds the demon Andras and can be summoned with Psalms 102. You would call on this angel for a good outcome in any situation involving commerce or banking, as well as to protect a business or make good business deals. Machiel binds the demon Floros and can be summoned with Psalms 33:18. You would call on this angel for help in any project involving writing, especially literature like novels, as well as to help spread your writing to a wider audience. Daembael binds the demon Andrialphus and can be summoned with Psalms 90:13. You would call on this angel to help ward against malicious magic, as well as for any success in any venture that involves being on or near water. Menachel binds the demon Simyes and can be summoned with Psalms 38:21. You would call on this angel to help find any object that has been lost, as well as to prevent you from having nightmares. And finally, these last 6 angels correspond with the zodiac sign of Pisces. Iael binds the demon Amdusias and can be summoned with Psalms 34:7. You would call on this angel for endurance during times of adversity, as well as to break free from any situation in which you feel like you're stuck in a rut. Chavuel binds the demon Belial and can be summoned with Psalms 106:1. You would call on this angel to speed up recovery time from any illness, as well as assistance in any matter concerning agriculture. Ra'ael binds the demon Decabria and can be summoned with Psalms 16:5. You would call on this angel to help discover the identity of thieves. Yab'amael binds the demon Seer and can be summoned with Psalm 145:17. You would call on this angel to help find inner peace and a sense of calm in the middle of any chaotic circumstance. Ha'iel binds the demon Dantalion and can be summoned with Psalms 109:30. You would call on this angel for greater proficiency in magic, as well as to repel harmful magic directed at you by others. And finally, Mumael binds the demon Andromalius and can be summoned with Psalms 116:7. You would call on this angel to help ensure success in any endeavor, especially those involving magic. And with that, we've reached the end of the Angelology Iceberg. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Honestly, the topics of angelology, demonology, and just the occult in general are super in-depth, and there is just way too much to cover in a single video, even if that video is over an hour. So I want to go ahead and give some recommendations, further research if you're interested. Of course, I mentioned this channel a few times in the Iceberg, but Esoterica is a phenomenal channel that does really in-depth deep dives on many of the topics and angels that I mentioned in this Iceberg. If you're more interested in learning about magic in general or the practical uses of magic, I would say pick up the book High Magic by Damien Eccles. In my opinion, it's the best beginner's book on magic that is readily available. And honestly, I could keep going on and on with various different recommendations and resources that you can use, but I think that's a good place to start. Anyway, as I was saying, thank you for watching. As for me, while I would consider myself an occultist or a fan of the occult, I think I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of a break from those and work on something a bit different for my next video. And if you're somehow able to keep up with my terrible audio and subpar editing skills, then go ahead and feel free to subscribe, because I have more content of the spooky variety planned. Anyway, thanks again for watching. I'll see you later.